Good afternoon. This is the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners. I'm Commissioner Bud Blake, the chair this year. I'd like to start off by doing introductions. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. To my right is Commissioner John Hutchins. To his right is Clerk of the Board, Labanina Bomar. Sorry. And to her right is Romero Chavez, the county manager. And to his right is the Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell. With that in mind, I'll ask Commissioner Hutchins to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. And I'm going to ask the Honorable Tenano Councilor John O'Callahan to lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in our pledge of allegiance to our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So with that in mind, I'll call the meeting to order and ask if there's an approval for today's agenda for July 25th, 2017.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the Tuesday, July 25th agenda 2017 for today.
Second.
It's moving to second for approval of the Tuesday, July 25th, 2017 agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and so that motion carries. How about approval for the board minutes for July 11th?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the board meeting minutes from July 11, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved to second to approve the board meeting minutes for July 11th, 2017. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries as well. So the next item we have is for the opportunity for the public to address the board. And while many people know that we've had change in our stoplight configuration as far as being able to speak to 3 minutes, we now use the clock up here on the left-hand, my left-hand side, your right-hand side on the wall. And it's kind of first come, first served as you signed in, and I'll just go down the list. And then if there's anybody I missed or you feel like you want to come to the podium after that, I'll ask anybody to do that. So the first person I have is Mr. Doug Carmen. How you doing, sir?
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Yes. Doug Carmen. I live at 4108 Kyra Road, Lacey, Washington. I live on Long Lake and am the president of the Long Lake Management District. As you know, currently the planning department is working on the shoreline management plan and revising that according to requirements of the state. Currently there's no stakeholders that have been asked to be involved in that, and we request that the board would ask the planning department to have stakeholders involved. As you know, or maybe as we know, as a population, that when regulations are written without stakeholders involved, you end up satisfying the state requirements and the laws, but you don't necessarily satisfy the needs of the population. So with stakeholders involved, you can have a much better plan. The Long Lake Management District has an individual on the committee who is a long-term resident and has a relationship with the lake, who is a retired architect and has a lot of dealings and works with planning departments in San Francisco. So we as a committee have appointed him to work with the planning department as much as possible to help that to happen. I would also be available to do that too, but we encourage you to ask the planning department to formalize a plan where stakeholders are involved. Brad Murphy, senior planner, has said that he is pleased or is looking forward to working with Long Lake in putting this together, but we haven't heard any official plan yet on that. So we just encourage you to do that.
Sure.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you for your words and coming today. All righty. So the next person I have is Mr. Larry Weaver. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Very well, thank you, Commissioners. Larry Weaver is my name at 9917 Highway 12 Southwest in Rochester. The infrastructure placed into projects, developments, can be quite considerable. I represent an organization that has put roughly $210,000 into infrastructure, into a plat, paid the $210,000 to Thurston County based on the consultant's determination what the added value to that property would be based on the extension of the water and sewer system. So we paid $210,000 to Thurston County for that benefit, for that added benefit to the property. The vesting period is soon to be over on that property. 5 years vesting, it goes away. Now we're subject to potentially the new gopher reviews, any other new rules and regulations coming into that. And the gopher review alone, the potential of loss of use of that property based on the gophers, is quite significant. That is a significant loss of value to the property based on a government process. The government process to extend the water and sewer added value to the property. The landowner paid for that value. The loss of the government action by the potential gopher habitat is fully on the landowner, which can potentially eliminate the value of that $210,000 put into the property, plus all the roads, the water, the power, or the sewer, everything that was put in as infrastructure. I'm here to request that for properties like that, developments like that, where it has infrastructure, significant infrastructure, water connections, roadways put in, that the vesting period be extended considerably from the current 5 years as allowed by ordinance. I would request that a 15-year vesting period might be more appropriate, especially in view of the changing regulation, the significant cost of the infrastructure, the zoning, the gophers, the environmental, and everything else. It's very difficult for anyone to want to make the leap to make that significant investment, knowing that if the market changes, they can't market their property, they can't build on it, there's new regulations come into play, that all of the value of infrastructure placed into that project could be lost. And so, again, I respectfully request that the commissioners consider extending the vesting period a considerable amount. Like I say, 15 years I would think would be more appropriate for projects where there is significant infrastructure installed. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for coming and providing words today. So I have next is Mr. John O'Callahan. How you doing there, sir?
Very good. Thank you very much, Commissioners. My name is John O'Callahan, 896 Lincoln Avenue, Tenino, Washington. First off, I want to say thank you to everybody that came this past weekend to Tenino, and I hope you all enjoyed the Oregon Trail Days. Thanks for coming. We're getting close to the end of activity season. We've got one more this weekend. We got the Foursquare Mile coming up. And then after that, September 9th, please mark your calendars. I've given this, and I don't know if they can see this on the camera. This is called the Thin Blue Line Potluck Barbecue. Okay. It'll be the last hurrah for the city of Tenino. What this is basically designed to do is to just say thank you to all the men and women that put a uniform on. Mr. Edwards, Mr. Hutchings, Commissioners, both of you wore them in the past. We thank you for this. This is not a political event. It is not a fundraiser. It is just to say thank you. The only thing that we ask is that people that come bring a dish that you can share. We only have a limited amount of hot dogs, chicken, hamburgers. We'll have a cake and stuff like that. But everybody bring a little bit of something that they can share. We'll also have live music from Calcara Kings and pony rides from the Sagi Bottom Ranch. Thank you for your time. Hope to see you guys there.
Sure. Thank you for providing those words, yeah. All right, next I have Mr. Terry Ballard.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I live at 321 Wildcat in Tanglewood, part of unincorporated Thurston County, and I am a 35-year veteran that retired in 2012 here in Thurston County. What do you call a campaign promise that never comes to light when you get elected? I call it a lie. Pocket gopher. Plastic bag ban. Yelm doesn't have a plastic bag ban. Tenino doesn't have a plastic bag ban. Does Tumwater have one? I was just wondering what the value of a ban that flies out of the truck and clogs the machine and has no environmental impact that causes Thurston County unincorporated to have one. septic tank fee. I hope my septic tank fee is going away. I get a $35 septic tank fee. And I just wondered how much contamination of gray water going into Puget Sound is acceptable by law or acceptable by us, okay? Also, I was wondering if anybody cared to look into the fact that Lacey was sending out notices threatening people that their septic tank might fail. And by the way, it came out to a 0.2%, and nobody, the septic tank fee just kind of went away after we voted it down, after you guys voted it down. It kind of went away, but the manipulated data still exists. I suggest you look at these manipulated data and get the right truth out of it and fire those people that are doing it. And those are your employees, managed by Mr. Ramirez over here. Also, the Isthmus Park. Why does Thurston County Unincorporated pay anything into the amount of $650,000 that doesn't produce a park into Olympia's failed park system? I always wondered that. I think we got pictures of it, but the park never exists. Also, the range. Thurston County gave land to a city for purposes of a range, so Thurston County sheriffs can use it for free. Well, that range doesn't exist, and there's garbage trucks being parked on it. I'm just wondering if that was the intended usage that you signed up for, or someone signed up for. Transportation Tax District. We finally got two people on that board that actually live in the tax district. What is the purpose? Why hasn't that gone away? Why did you guys vote it in? 2 out of 3 voted it in. Also, the Deschutes Falls Ranch. Deschutes Falls is a state-funded falls that that went away 1 January of 2017 because of oversight. Yeah. Is that like the $650,000 wasted on a park that doesn't exist in Olympia?
Yeah.
And last of all,
Okay.
there are 6 out of 13 handicap spots assigned out in front of your building for the purpose of employees. They need to be removed over here to the employee parking lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your words, sir. Mr. John Pettit?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Hey, how
I'm
are you?
John Pettit. I live on Rich Road. And yes, you're all too familiar with me sometimes, I'm sure. One of the things that I am going to speak about briefly is item number 5 on your list of agenda. Item 5, award a bid in the amount of $468,000 for working on a building, a 3,000 square foot, a remodel of a 3,000 square foot building on the fairgrounds. More than $150 a square foot to remodel a building, fix a little bit of siding on the outside and inside improvements. For that price, you could tear it down and build a much larger and better building. I'm wondering why you guys would approve such a thing. I mean, it doesn't make any sense in a whole fairgrounds that needs to be revamped. And I realize that basically you're probably listening to your constituents, okay? The constituents that are county employees, not the county citizens. The county employees that are your constituents. Those are the ones that it appears you're listening to. So I think there's a good reason to question. Now, I know you are given this little agenda here. It's only 3 pages, right? Most people don't realize there's 200 pages of material that go behind it. And I guess I would ask this. How many of the 3 of you actually read all 200 pages? I think probably 0. You listen to your staff to make decisions. I thought one of the new things I see in the staff request system is they put in funding for this project is reflected in the approved county budget and capital facilities plan. In other words, now they're telling you what's already approved, so you know that you just vote for it rather than looking at it. To be very brief, I'm going to also talk a little bit about your flex unit. I had a call which was suggesting that that was all the previous board decision. Well, let me tell you, there's been no contract issued to build that structure. All of that decision is going to go on you. I don't care if they reflected it in a budget, but you probably don't even know that you don't have an active conditional use permit to build the flex unit. You would be a minimum of 6 to 9 months out before you could even think of starting, and you don't even have a real plan yet. You know what? Start listening to the people who voted for you, the citizens out there, instead of what you have been, your constituents, the county employees. It's making you look like the Three Stooges.
Thank you so much, sir. All righty, so I'm at the conclusion, and there's two people, thank you very much, two people who put yes or no, or just hit no, and I wonder if you had a change of mind or heart, want to come to the podium, and just kind of glance. And then if there's anybody in the audience who wish to take advantage of this opportunity to come to the podium and address the board. See no one in mind? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the county manager's update.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'd just like to inform you with a heavy heart, one of our Public Works employees, Mr. Bob Decker, passed away in a non-work-related accident on July 17. A little bit of background on Bob. He was originally hired in May 2008 as a seasonal employee. He came to Thurston County through the WorkSource retraining program for displaced works from the 2008 floods in Lewis County. He returned for another season in May 2009 as a temporary flagger laborer. Bob then applied for and was hired into a regular assistant maintenance technician position in July 2009. He took advantage of training opportunities and was promoted to maintenance tech November 2011. Bob spent most of his career in Public Works on the vegetation crew, especially with the brush crew, trimming brush and felling hazardous trees. He was a hardworking, safety-conscious, respected employee. He had a positive attitude and a smile every day. He loved talking about his garden, fishing trips, and especially his family. From a personal note, while I was the Director of Public Works, I had the opportunity to meet with Bob on a couple of occasions as he took the opportunity of my open door policy. As I recall the first meeting when he came, he was not on his daily work attire. He took the time to put a tie and came armed with a photo album of the work that he has done over the years in Thurston County. And during that meeting, on the 30 minutes, I learned so much about what he did, so much about the vegetation control in the county, but most of all, I learned his passion of what he did, and how much he valued the position that he held in Public Works. So from that perspective, this is a tremendous loss to the Thurston County family, particularly to Public Works, and my heart goes to his family and the rest of the Public Works family as we know it. So there will be some additional details on his funeral arrangements, and at this point, Public Works has collected donations to help his family through this process. Thank you.
Any words or comments?
That's a lovely tribute, Romero. Thank you for that. It's profoundly tragic and sad.
Yeah, I'd like to add that we'll miss Bob and his leadership, and our condolences go out to his family and friends. His larger-than-life experience with him is just tragedy and truly be missed, yeah. All right, so we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent items. And so is there a motion for the consent items A through G?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent items A through G.
Second.
Then move the second to approve consent items A through G. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and the motion carries. So it takes us into our departmental items, which is Public Health and Social Services, item number 4, which is a memorandum of understanding. Yes, the memorandum of understanding with the Thurston County Behavioral Health Organization in the Public Health and Social Services Department facility. Is that Mark Freeman? Yep. Come on up, Mark. Yes, you are. You are now.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Name is Mark Freeman. I'm I'm administrator for a couple more days of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization. As the organization continues its transformation and becoming a complete independent entity standing on its own, and we're going through this necessary step right now in terms of the direct employment of staff who are now hired through the county. We've gone through a process that has created a situation where we have staff who previously were employed by the county, now employed by the BHO, who are working still in Thurston County facility. To be able to explain, understand, and set sort of the rules around how we make this work, we've created a memorandum of understanding that's attached or has attached to it a lease agreement with Central Services, along with the pre-existing administrative service interlocal and a business associates agreement to explain how we deal with issues around confidentiality. So the Director of Public Health and Social Services and myself have been working on this agreement to allow for, at least for this transitional time period, for these staff to continue to work in the facility. So the MOU is basically an understanding of how this relationship will continue and continue to benefit both Thurston and Mason counties as we continue the services around behavioral health care in the community. Questions?
I have one. Actually, I'm looking for a comment from you. Just to kind of back up and come forward again, this is a memorandum of understanding between Public Health and Social Services and the BHO, as far as the BHO separating out of the county.
Correct.
Right. Could you just kind of give a 30-second overview of why that is in terms of the way the mid-adopter and late adopter piece is, so that the general public understand why this separation is occurring?
Okay, happy to. Previous to 2016 April, the mental health services were provided for both Thurston and Mason County through a county entity called the Regional Support Network, the RSN. At the same time, within the county was a separate department called Chemical Dependency. Both received state funding to provide services in the community, predominantly Medicaid funding for indigent populations who required these services, and a full continuum of these services from outpatient, inpatient, involuntary care, the full range. Most of our services are provided by contracts with service providers in the community. The legislature made a decision, House Bill 6312, around 2014, that implemented this, that has gone through several steps. One step is to integrate mental health and chemical dependency, given upwards, there are different numbers, you can say almost up to 85% of the population are co-disordered, meaning they have both issues that we have to treat. Having separate services is not effective to provide that care. So we have gone through the step of, one, developing a behavioral health organization that integrates both mental health and CD. We've taken steps also in terms of changing the configuration, what was the RSN, as completely administered by the Thurston County, to now having being a separate entity that has its own separate governing board made up of 2 Thurston County commissioners and 1 Mason County commissioner. In the process of doing that, two points. One, the next step after this level of integration is go the next step that the legislature wants to integrate behavioral health care with primary care. And again, how do you facilitate efficient, effective, and quality care for an individual who goes either to see their physician or goes to see their psychiatrist or therapist, where all services can be considered in balance with each other. That is a development that is moving towards completion in the year 2020. there are steps to doing that, one of which is, really the first major piece of that is how the state is looking to do financial integration first of contracting with managed care organizations to run all Medicaid funding through those entities. That has a major impact on the existence of the BHO, which is now receives those fundings. We're working towards how do we develop a relationship with the MCOs to continue that relationship here, working with them conjointly, because they already receive Medicaid funding for physical health care, primary care. Am I going way too much detail, or we?
You're past 30 seconds, yes.
Yeah, I haven't heard this go off yet. I'm waiting.
Finish it up, that's good.
Okay, so the steps that we're taking to create and be in position to negotiate and contract ourselves with the managed care companies is we have to have a position of strength in terms of how the BHO functions. Not as a county entity, but as an independent entity that can contract with these MCOs to develop that relationship and further move this whole piece of financial and clinical integration of services along.
Okay, in short, it was a business move, right?
I could have just said that from
Yeah,
the beginning.
that's it.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, I need these cues a little better.
I'm helping you, brother.
Could you just touch just
I don't
very
just little-
briefly on where the finances come from and the other jurisdictions around the state that have done something like this and we're running a little behind?
First, I want to say we're running a little bit behind. We all have our own paths.
Okay.
Okay, so the predominant funding from is Medicaid, which is the federal funding that's based now both on disability and indigent status, financial status.
Okay.
Those funds come through Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They contract with the State Department of Social Health Services and actually Healthcare Authority, and then we contract with the DSHS and Healthcare Authority for those funds. So it's predominantly Medicaid. There are some other funds mixed into that here locally as well as from the state general fund, but like 90% of our funding is Medicaid.
And that's dedicated funding.
Absolutely, those funds cannot be used for anything else. Even unspent funds or the reserves, they all have to stay with us. There are, I've lost track, how many BHOs there are now. Let's say about 9 others.
Yeah, 9.
And we are all in different positions of developing the BHO entity, as well as where we are in negotiating and contracting with managed care organizations or moving towards full independent status. A number are already independent because they never came under a single county administration. Others, like King County, it is still King County, and it's totally under their administration.
Yeah.
I can stretch that out a whole
No,
lot more.
no.
No, we're good, we're
Just
good.
fine.
Okay.
I don't dare ask you a question now. I'm done.
This is how I control it by, it's like, you want it?
Let me help you out. Is there a motion?
There's a motion, Mr. Chair. I move to approve and authorize the Thurston County Public Health and Social Services Department Director to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization regarding access to the Public Health and Social Services Department facility from August 1, 2017 through December 31, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and so your motion carries.
Thank you, appreciate it. And
Thank you.
any more questions?
No, we're good, man. Okay, item number 5, which is Central Services, is the bid award for Project 25531, which is the Washington State University Extension Facility remodel. And I think it's not Michael Crow, it is Martin. Okay, Bo, good. Get the duo, dynamic duo.
Eminem.
Eminem.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Martin Casey, your Central Services Director, and with me is Michael Pro, the Project Manager for this project. We're both up here for this one and the next item. This is, as you mentioned, a bid award for construction project. I want to give you a little background on this. For several years, the county has been seeking to identify and relocate the WSU Extension Program to a permanent location. It's currently housed in an old fire station located off of Harrison Avenue. That facility is not really adequate to its needs, and WSU offers a variety of programs related to agriculture and economic vitality. They provide the 4-H program, Master Gardener program, they have a demonstration kitchen, they do trainings, pesticides, a number of things, and a number of office-based programs and activities. Starting about 2-3 years ago, the board began identifying possible alternative locations, and last fall selected, after several briefings, a site at the Thurston County Fairgrounds, an existing structure, the Benechek Hall, which is essentially a large, empty, or open barn-like structure. It's about 3,000 square feet, and in order to convert it to office and other uses, including build out of a kitchen, training space, addition of HVAC system, which it does not currently have, additional plumbing, electrical, and telecommunications equipment and so forth, construction out of office space. The commissioners authorized us to go out to bid and select a design firm last fall. That design firm came back to this board in the spring of this year and presented to you several options related to design choices. You provided direction out of that briefing for the final design, which we went forward and went out to bid for construction earlier this summer. Those bids came back on July 10th. We received 5 bids on the project, and the low bid came in as approximately $486,876.02, which includes sales tax and contingency. Be happy to answer any further questions.
Any questions on WC extensions?
No, well, I do have, how many bids did you get on that?
We received 5.
And this was the low bid?
Yes.
All right, any others? All right, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to move to award a bid in the amount of $468,876.02, including Washington State sales tax and 10% contingency for the Washington State University Extension Facility remodel. Project number 25531 to D&D Construction 1 of Ording, Washington, and authorize the Central Services Director to sign the contract for any change orders for the project due to unforeseen conditions only, not for changes in scope that do not exceed the 10% contingency.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and so your motion carries. Next item you have is item 5D.
Yes. This item is related to the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization, which you just heard an update on from Mark Friedman. So one of the associated tasks that the county has to execute in order to help them move forward with their separation from the county is to convert their current relationship in the Public Health and Social Services building on Lilly Road from a county-hosted kind of tenant relationship to an actual lease agreement between the two organizations. And so this is to put that into effect through the end of the year. It essentially converts their current rates that they're paying to Central Services for the space into a lease agreement. Be happy to answer any questions.
No.
No? Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, I move to approve 5-month lease with the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization at the Thurston County Public Health and Social Service Building, August 1, 2017 through December 31, 2017, in the amount of $6,352.24, and authorize the Central Services Director to sign the lease with all appendices.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and so that motion carries as well.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, Martin.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, so the next item we have is 6, which is the Public Works, and we have approval of an amendment to the lease agreement between Thurston County and Lakeside Industries. And is that Monica? Yes. Hi, Monica. How you doing there?
Good, thank you.
You bet. Come on up. Pull the mic down just a tad. There you go.
You're saying I'm short.
No, I didn't say that. I just want to hear you loud and clear.
Lakeside Industries is a business that has leased 2.76 acres adjacent to the county's transfer station at Hawks Prairie, which we staff refer to as the Waste and Recovery Center. This lease actually is essentially an asphalt pile that is reclaimed asphalt tailings. And it's my understanding that Lakeside Industries intends to eventually relocate this asphalt pile for purposes of recycling. But at the time that they moved in 2007, they weren't able to take this pile to their new location. So they have leased the county's property since about 2010. This lease is expiring, and the purpose of this item is simply just to renew the lease. The existing contract between Lakeside Industries and the county allows for 3 one-year extensions, so this is the first of those extensions.
Okay, any questions for Monica?
No.
No. Is there a motion?
I move to approve amendment number 1, excuse me, to the lease agreement between Thurston County and Lakeside Industries extending the lease for the first of 3 annual renewal options, and authorize the Director of Public Works to execute amendment number 1 and to sign future amendments extending the lease for the remaining 2 annual renewal options.
Second.
Yeah, it's been moved and second, as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and your motion carries, Monica. So 6B is also yours.
Yes, that's right.
Professional services?
This particular item is for approval of a contract to be awarded to HDR Engineering for purposes of facility condition assessments and capital planning for the county's solid waste facilities. And those facilities consist of the closed landfill at Hawks Prairie, the transfer station at that same site, as well as our drop-off centers in Rainier and Rochester. Those facilities were all constructed prior to 2000. The transfer station was built with a 20-year design life. We are growing as a county, and we haven't analyzed, essentially done any type of studies or long-range capital facility planning to determine what's the actual life of these facilities, and will they keep up with public demand in the future for solid waste services. And for those residents who aren't aware, all the garbage generated in this county does go through the county's transfer station. We issued a request for proposals. We got 4 responses. HDR was selected, and we've negotiated the contract that's before you today.
Any questions about?
No.
You got a question?
If I missed it, I apologize, Monica. When was the last time we did a condition assessment?
To my knowledge, we've never done a facility condition assessment. We have done assessments for different purposes, but never one to analyze the condition of the infrastructure and its lifespan, what the replacement needs are in the future, as well as what are the potential maintenance costs. So this will really be the basis for all our capital facility planning moving forward.
All of them, okay. Good,
Correct.
thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve a professional services contract to HDR Engineering Incorporated to perform solid waste facilities condition assessments and capital planning for an amount of $150,000 and authorize the Director of Public Works to execute the contract and sign future contract amendments, if any, up to an aggregate amount not to exceed the approved budget for this project of $200,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and so your motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Monica. So the next item is still in Public Works, but we have 6C, which is the sole source purchase of, is it Faro Scene Laser Scanner Software? And we have Darren.
Zinkner.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm
Hi.
Darren Zinkner, the County Surveyor. I'm requesting $6,194 in a sole source purchase of the Faro 3D scanner software and a dongle that comes with it, so we can use it on multiple machines. I heard you talking about it earlier. It's a little deal that
Right.
plugs into the USB port.
Yep,
I
you
thought
don't
it
have
was
it, you're not
dance.
gonna use.
It's the great key.
That was a line dance.
Yeah, a line dance.
So in 2016, the Thurston County Sheriff Department and Public Works Department jointly purchased a Faro 3D scanner, and it has a proprietary software for processing the data from the scanner. we will be using the scanner for crosswalks, for handicap ramps, and for bridges, for slides. It's a good way to get a lot of data quickly, safely. You don't have to put people in harm's way underneath bridges, up on slides. So this will help me process the data and my crew. And yes, that's it. Any questions?
No.
He needs his tool.
I do.
He's got it. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if you know this or not. Is Faro the name of the company, or is it an acronym?
Faro is an acronym, and no, I do not know it.
Dang nabbit.
My to-do list, Commissioner.
Okay.
You could have had a gazillion dollars on that.
I know. I'd have lost that. Phone a friend?
You lost my vote now. I'm kidding.
No.
I'm done.
Okay. Is there a motion, though, with this?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the sole source purchase of Faro 3D laser scanner software for an amount not to exceed $6,194.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and so your motion carries there, Mr. Darren.
Thank you very much.
You bet, sir. Okay, number 7 is the area we call the Commissioners and County Managers items, and we have an amendment to treatment sales tax interlocal agreement with Thurston Basin Behavioral, and we have Carrie to tell us all about it.
Yes, thank you. So as you know, a considerable portion of treatment sales tax funding is administered through the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization. And the request today is, and that happens through an interlocal agreement between the Commissioner's Office and the BHO. The request today is to amend that agreement. There's some technical corrections. The substantive changes are, one, the addition of $75,000 to launch an inmate housing case management program, so specifically focused on people leaving the Thurston County Jail, helping them find housing. And 2, there's a reallocation of about $90,000 from a youth outpatient treatment program to an existing housing case management program that has sort of a similar function to the new program, but focused more generally on folks with co-occurring disorders. With that reallocation, we've confirmed with the BHO that we will not serve fewer youth through the youth outpatient treatment program. They've identified alternate sources of funding that they can use to fully operate that program. Questions?
No.
Would you say that this is probably a tool that you use to prevent recidivism amongst folks going to the county jail?
That is probably the central goal of, yes, the inmate housing case management program.
Okay, thank you.
No questions.
Would you like to present a motion?
Yeah, this motion is longer than Mark Friedman's answer,
This was written by an attorney, if I remember right.
so I'm going to take a deep breath. Mr. Chair, I move to approve, I move to authorize the Assistant County Manager to sign an amended interlocal agreement for the period of January 1, 2017 to December 31, 2017 between the Board of County Commissioners and the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization that increases the total compensation amount by $75,000 from $1,580,171 to $1,655,173 in treatment sales tax funds, uses the additional $75,000 to create an inmate housing case management program, makes a one-time reallocation of $90,722 from the youth outpatient treatment program to the existing housing case management program, and makes necessary technical corrections to budget amounts and coding.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as stated. All those in favor say aye.
I'm winded.
Aye.
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 And the motion carries. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. So 7B is reserved for the commissioners to speak about anything they've seen out in the community or any kind of projects or committees they sit on. I just kind of asked my seatmates if there's something they'd like to chat about.
I guess I'd like to take just a moment to talk about the nurse-family partnership that I had an opportunity to go out on a ride-along with the case manager. And I can tell you that these kids that are out there that we're dealing with on a regular basis, it's just a step in the right direction to help them succeed. You've all heard me probably say that kids are 30% of our population, but 100% of our future. And I really think that what we can do to invest in our kids and keep them from a troubled future to a productive future is just money well spent. And I'd like to thank the Nurse Family Partnership folks. Gretchen runs that program, and I think it's money well spent. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's the main thing I'm talking about today.
Okay, that's
I'll
good.
probably chime in on something.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. How about you, John?
I attended last week, the lot treatment audit conducted by the State Auditor's Office, and was exceptionally impressed with how they came through with flying colors. I met with Kurt Adino, the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity, had a tour of their office, and talked philosophically and such about CDBG grants. And I met in Mason County, in Shelton, with the Thurston Mason BHO, with Commissioner Blake. And I met with Ron Cameron. He's the owner of the Highway 99 Bar and Grill, which is the, oh, good grief, I can't think of the old name, but the, what was it on, it's on 99 and Waldrick Road, that bar down there.
Gold mining?
I can't remember the doggone name of it, and that hadn't been closed that long. But that's gonna be it's gonna be a destination bar and grill that's gonna attract a wide audience of folks, called the Highway 99 Bar and Grill. It's not due to open for about another month or so. I attended the STEADY meeting, the South Thurston Economic Development Initiative meeting in Bucota last Friday. I think it was Thursday morning. Includes all of the movers and shakers in South County and their chambers of commerce and such. And Friday morning, did a tour with Morningside and how they cater to and assist folks with developmentally disabled folks, and met Anya, a young 22-year-old that works for the state. She was volunteering on behalf of Morningside for the state, doing computer documenting, scanning, and indexing of historical documents, and she did such an outstanding job, they hired her full-time. And she actually works a few blocks away at the OSPI, which is pretty impressive. That was a great Morningside tour. Last Friday afternoon, Capital Land Trust sponsored a kayak event out of Boston Harbor and kayaking down to Gull Harbor. And if you look on a map, it's only about this big or this much distance, but I'm telling you, that's quite a ways to paddle on a kayak to and fro. And then, but we had about a 20-minute break inside the cove in Gull Harbor, and it is stunning. It was just beautiful. That was a lot of fun doing that tour with Capital Land Trust. Attended the Oregon Trail Days, as Council Member John O'Callahan said. We're down there, and it was well attended. The weather was perfect for Oregon Trail Days, and that's that. Oh, and I just want to finish before we close and remind people that August the 2nd through the 6th is the Thurston County Fair, and please come one, come all. And Saturday morning, August the 5th, at 8:30 in the morning until we're done, is a pancake breakfast. And pancakes will be stirred and mixed and flipped and flopped by your commissioners, your staff, and directors and electeds from the county. So August the 5th, Saturday morning, a week from this coming Saturday. Well, I don't know when this is going to air, but August the 5th. Please come out to the fair. I'm done.
You want to add something?
I'd just like to add something about the fair. If you've got any interest in purchasing livestock, the youth have a livestock sale out there. You're going to buy groceries anyway, well, get with your neighbor and split a beef or something. And it's all good home-raised product from right here in Thurston County, and you're generally supporting some young person that's on his way to school.
Yeah, but supporting a young person in the way that they've developed that pig or cow, whatever, to the end as far as
That's right.
branding and
They
marketing
have
and-
raised that
right.
animal and dedicated time to that animal, and then upon the sale of that animal, those proceeds generally go to furthering that program or to a college fund.
Great. Anything else? You good now? You want to chime in on mine?
Let's chime in on yours.
I'm waiting to see what you do.
Okay, mine's gonna be easy. So just to kind of give you a snippet of where I was last week or so, I attended a conference called the NACO Conference, or the NACO Conference, in which stands for the National Association of County and City Health Officials, so it's NACO. And it was absolutely phenomenal in terms of the way health and healthcare is in a nation. So it's all the local officials that come to a national level to discuss and hear some of the lessons learned from other chief health strategists throughout counties and cities, from Maine to Florida to Washington to California and in between. Primarily, it was the focus of clinical care and population health, and how the two mix or doesn't mix. But of course, you can imagine some of the things were patient outcomes and reduced cost and system. So I have a bunch of notes. I haven't gotten through all of them. I'll come back to the Board of Health and give you a much better update, but that's kind of what I've been doing for the last week or so. With that in mind, I'll ask the county manager if he has anything he'd like to
Thank you
broadcast.
again, Commissioners. This afternoon, I'd like to walk you through your combined calendar of the upcoming week. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars. This just reflects when at least two commissioners are present. This afternoon at 5:30, you have a public hearing where you will hear public testimony on the proposal to form a cultural arts stadium and convention district. That is going to be held at 5:30 again today on room 152 on the first floor of the building 1 of the courthouse. Tomorrow, Wednesday, 26th, 9:30, you will have an open space tax program overview. They will explain all the different nuances of the open space program that we have here in the county. At 10 in the morning, you will have a briefing on the Thurston Conservation District and perhaps on the proposed system and rates and charges that you need to be aware on an upcoming action by the board. At 11 in the morning, you will debrief the public testimony you have received on the convention district public hearing that you will hear tonight. At 2 in the afternoon, you will hear from staff some proposals to staff the boundary review board as they're wrestling as to how they need to meet that demand. 2:30 in the afternoon, tomorrow, Wednesday, July 26th, you will have an hour and a half where you have the conversation on the habitat conservation plan related to the bucket gopher. And this is a follow-up to the June 14 briefing where staff is going to be presenting you with several options as to how perhaps to move forward. On Thursday, July 27, at 9 in the morning, you will have another briefing from the Thurston Conservation District. And this particular briefing is perhaps a request from the district on conservation easement and request for funding. At 10 in the morning, you have a commissioner's check-in. I will be sending an agenda 20 hours in advance on the specific items. At 1:30 in the afternoon, you have follow-up interviews for the Director of Office of Public Defense. And at 3:30, you will conclude those interviews and you will convene in an executive session where you will have the opportunity to talk about the results of those interviews. You have nothing on your combined calendar on Friday, July 28th, and you have nothing on your combined calendar on Monday, July 31st. Thank you.
All right. Any other final comments?
I'd just like to thank everybody in the audience for coming in today, spending the afternoon with us.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn the Board of County Commissioners meeting of July 25, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. We are adjourned. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the open public hearing on the consideration for the formation of Cultural Arts Stadium and Convention District and pursuant to RCW 67.38. First and foremost, I want to actually welcome you in. Again, thank you for coming tonight. Whether you come here to speak or listen, this is a great opportunity for the public to be involved in a process that we totally believe in as the county commissioners, and we want everybody's input as much as you want to give. And you know that not only what we have here tonight verbally You can turn it into the county manager, who I'll introduce in a second, Romero Chavez, if you have something on paper. We also have emails and other documentation that we received over the period of last couple of weeks. And we'll include that in the total public record document that we'll review eventually to make a decision on which way this is going to go. Before we get started, further down the road, I got a couple of house notes. As you can see here tonight, we have interpreting for the hearing impaired to reach a wider, larger audience, and we're absolutely proud to have that going on. We are going to be televised tonight. We are being recorded. It will not be live streaming. There was a recording, and then it'll be uploaded on a link that TCTV will be posting. So if you want to go back and see it for whatever reason, just to offer that up to you. Typically, we at the Board of County Commissioners, very, very, very rarely will we engage with you when you come to the podium or have some sort of public comment. We feel that it's your position here to have your 3 minutes with us to tell us what's on your mind, be a pro or con as far as the issue of a convention district. But don't be thinking that we are not listening or in tune with you. It's just that we're not here for the dialogue or Q&A when you come to the podium. It's strictly your 3 minutes, and we want you to have that. Let's see what else. The purpose of this tonight is for Thurston County is seeking public input on the formation of a convention district with the objective to construct a convention center within Thurston County boundaries or the region at some point in time. And if we, you'll see here in a minute, the county manager is going to explain the RCW, the process, and that might answer some of your questions even tonight as far as how we have arrived at this juncture and where we think we might be going in terms of the process overall. Not the decision, but the process as a whole. And so, again, you'll have 3 minutes when you come to the podium to testify. And we have the old-fashioned way, because upstairs we have the new clock, but here we have what we call the red, green, yellow, amber indicator. So the green meaning 2.5 minutes, and when you get to amber or yellow, it's going to be 2.5 minutes with 30 seconds remaining. And when you hit red, obviously your time is up, okay? And when the time is up, I'll be very, very liberal, but a stickler at the same time. If you're in mid-thought, I'm going to let you finish your thought. That's just politeness and courtesy. But I'm going to ask you to kind of finalize it so that you don't get into the 3.5, 4 minute, 5 minute time frame, and then I'm going to ask you politely to step away from the podium about the 3.5 minute time frame, okay? So with that in mind, I'm going to open up the public. Oh, one more thing. So those who I had the list here, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I misstate your name with my accent or however. It's just I'm going to give myself a forgiveness card there. But if I call you and the order that you signed in is how I do it, okay? And then if by chance there's somebody in the audience that still wants to do it, then I'll go back through and ask, even though you didn't sign in, and ask you to come forward at that point in time, okay? Just in case you heard something you want to get up and speak your mind, okay? So, sure, let's do that. He's absolutely right. So I am Commissioner Bud Blake, the chair of the board this year, and to my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards, and to my right is Commissioner John Hutchings, and to his right is Labanita Bomar, the clerk of the board, and to her right is Romero Chavez, the county manager. All right, with that in mind, I'm going to open up the public hearing. And in doing so, I'm going to ask for a staff presentation. In this case, the county manager is going to give an overview, some background, talk about some of the written comments that's already come in, and then any additional information that we might have from the board to him, and then I'll call people forward, okay? So with that, I'll turn it over to Romero Chavez and ask you to give some background.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon, public. As a matter of background, on the RCW 6738, on June 6, 2017, you, the Board of County Commissioners, passed a resolution 15476 to set a public hearing for today, July 25th, 2017, at 5:30 in the afternoon at the Courthouse Campus, Building 1, Room 152, to consider and hear public testimony for the potential creation of a cultural arts, stadium, and convention district. Public notice for this public hearing were advertised at the Olympian on June 15, June 26, and June 29, 2017. Also, under RCW 6738 requires the commissioners to, again, in addition to set the public hearing, requires to notify all the different jurisdictions within the county to give them the opportunity to opt in or opt out of this particular, of the boundaries of the district. The option of opting out needs to be via a resolution. It needs to be received prior to today's public hearing by any jurisdiction who has chosen not to participate or be part of the boundaries of the district. So far, we have received resolutions opting out from the City of Olympia, City of Lacey, City of Tumwater, City of Yelm, City of Rainier. In addition, the City of Olympia, prior to passing the resolution of opting out, they send you, the commissioners, a letter requesting to have a conversation about this effort outside of the requirements of the RCW 6738. During the public testimony, we had received a total of 33 written comments, 3 in support of this effort and 30 in opposition. The specifics of these comments are summarized on the spreadsheet that is in front of you if you'd like to read in more detail. Under RCW 6738, up to today's public hearing, the Board of County Commissioners have 2 years to bring this matter to the voters during the general election. That will be either November 2017 or November 2018. The voters, via simple majority, have to approve the formation of the district. Also, you have the opportunity to, as part of the public comment, to consider the jurisdictions they have decided to opt out and redrawn the boundaries of the district if that is the decision you would like to take. As soon as it goes to the voters, then there's several steps within that process, and I'm going to make an assumption as to what those will be. Assuming that you will take an action to take this matter to the voters, and assuming the voters will approve in a simple majority, then one of the first steps will be to form the governing body, which the RCW 6738 states they will have up to 9 members of the participating jurisdictions. But also, those are voting members. But also the district will have the opportunity to select a non-voting members, what we call ex officio, as to how they can participate in the process. Soon after that, the board, the governing body of the district will have to pass what the bylaws, the process, procedures and process as to how they like to operate. And soon after that, the hard work will begin for the district itself. And that will be to develop a comprehensive plan. There needs to be include the type, size, and location, as well as a financial plan as to where this particular convention center could be located within the boundaries of the district. That particular plan needs to be submitted to the Department of Commerce, and the Department of Commerce, in coordination with the state treasurer, will have to approve or not this particular venture within 60 days of that submittal. And that will put us in the position, that will put the district in the position that if it's approved, then the funding strategy needs to be sent out to the voters again. Either is a general bond obligation of a levy left. Those are the 2 options, as well. They have some options to the district itself on a public-private partnership. Unless you have any additional questions, that's what I have for you in terms of background.
I do have two questions for you. So you named the cities that opted out, and maybe I didn't hear it, but the cities that opted or stayed in, did you by chance refer to those?
I believe I have not received any correspondence from the city of Tenino or Bucota.
Mm-hmm.
So those automatically will be part of the district.
Sure. And can you just, I know you mentioned the governing body of the number, how that works in terms of selection. I heard you say those who are elected official and ex officio, but can you just elaborate on the number and why it's that number and what?
The legislative authority will be the one who selects the board members. And again, it has to be elected officials, council members or mayors who have to be part of this governing body of the district if it's formed. And those will be up to, again, 9 members. And depending on the participating jurisdictions, then the Board of County Commissioners will have to determine how the makeup of that particular district will be. The non-voting members, the ex officio members, that will be some of the outreaches on the special jurisdiction, special groups that you may see as a benefit as to how they can probably help the district in going through the type, size, location, and funding strategies for the convention center. And it could include the Economic Development Council, the Port of Olympia, the VCB, and some of the special groups that perhaps bring value to that selection process.
And one more question. For the funding strategy, I know it spells out in the RCW one particular way, and that's kind of a public way, but did you mention the other public way and possibly the private? Can you elaborate on? Because I just didn't want people to think it's just that way in the RCW. We come to the modern world.
Yeah, the RCW is specific as to how obviously the public can support this effort via vote. The general fund obligation that requires a supermajority and it needs to be held in a general election. The levy lift is it requires a simple majority, and that is they can go up to 25 cents per 1,000 evaluation of any particular property. But also within that context, the financial strategy of the comprehensive plan of this particular location could include a private partnership. As an example, for instance, the city of Tacoma just approved the construction of a hotel supporting their convention center. And as far as I understand, there's private developer money and not public money involved in that venture. So the district could have that option.
Zero public money. Okay. Now your question? Talk to the mic.
Could you touch on the way a convention center under the RCW could be created, either the way we did it and then the 60 days after we do the resolution, or say 2 municipalities wanted to create a district, just so people know there's a couple options.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Within the creation of the district under RCW 6738-030 gives the option of at least 2 jurisdictions. They can partner to create this the same district. But those 2 jurisdictions need to be submitted a formal request to the Board of County Commissioners, the legislative authority of the county, in order to approve that moving forward. So there is an option on that. Thank you for asking.
And then the 60 days, I want people to know that
the 60 days, and I know some of the comments that we have received from some jurisdictions as to why so rushed and why the 60 days. The statute, again, on 6738-030 is specific on the 60 days. And that's how the timeline has been set, and that is why July 25th has come to be the public hearing, because you do have 60 days to set the public hearing.
And you, sir?
Ramiro, when you addressed the governing body under RCW 67.38, you talked that the governing body would be up to 9 voting members, elected officials, but I just wanted you to reiterate, if you didn't say it, that the jurisdictions that opted out would not have a seat at the table to vote?
According to the statute, they will not have a voting seat on the table.
Okay, thank you.
They could become ex officios.
Because they can come as an ex officio.
Correct, okay.
Any other comments? No. Okay, just for a minute, I'd like to try to give a little bit of background on how we arrived at this juncture here in addition to the RCW process. This came about when this commission was formed back in January, and the fact that we had people literally walking up to us, calling us, checking in with us, however you want to say it, asking about a convention center. And with the growth of the economic footprint here in Thurston County, the growth of the population, we decided that this was a good idea, just to kind of put it out there. With that in mind, we went and found the RCW that we just explained, and so that we can have all the jurisdictions participating, so we did not have the historical argument that had occurred in the past. This RCW, it looks at it county-wide, whereas the other RCW for the facilities district looks at it more specifically in terms of, say, just say one particular district. So we wanted a county-wide, i.e. regional-wide discussion. So that's why the process we went forward with that in terms of opting in and opting out. We still believe there is a market out there as far as having a convention center. Will we continue the steps in this process? That's to be determined. When I say a market, I mean anything above 400 to 500 as far as a facility that holds 400 or 500. Anything, say, 1,000 to 3,000 is what we think Thurston County as a whole needs, because some of the other surrounding counties, such as Lewis County, Grace Harbor County, Mason County, and maybe the southern half of Pierce County, would be attracted to a 1,500 to 3,100 person convention center. We're not looking for a 20,000 key arena like Seattle, Tacoma, and all that. That's what they have up there for that type of population base. But when you stop and look at the one particular stat that I would throw out there, if you look at northern part of Lewis County, their LTAC, and I forget what LTAC stands for, but the local tourism hotel tax, right? They receive almost $2,500 a year in LTAC, where Thurston County unincorporated only gets $20,000 to $22,000. So we know that there's hotels and all that kind of stuff to support this, and other businesses that would come into play if the if hypothetically convention center was located somewhere here in Thurston County. Even that far out, Lewis County would have a play in that economic development. So that is what we're after in some way, shape, form, or size. But that's for the governing body that falls out of this statute, RCW, that would determine all those things as far as location, design, funding strategies. We just, as a county commissioner, wanted that conversation to happen prior to that. So with that in mind, I'll start with the list for calling people forward to the podium. Okay, first person I have is David Shafford, and come forward to the podium, sir.
Well, good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Nice to be here. I'm David Shafford. I'm the President and CEO of the Thurston County Chamber. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to provide comments. My comments are going to be focused predominantly on the concept of the district for convention services. This isn't the first time the Chamber has weighed in on convention services, and we've been part of past proposals that have been bantered around our community. And today we believe there is a need. I would concur with the Commissioner Blake's comments. We get routine inquiries as to facilities for conferences at the Chamber, and so it is, at least anecdotally, continually on my mind for the past several decades about how we set up infrastructure in our community to better serve the opportunity of conventions. I will note that, as people know, convention services is a very challenging business model, and it shows that on the negative side, it can be a business model challenge. On the positive side, your total economic impact of that platform can be very positive to the entire community as an aggregate. So a lot more conversation and with respect to that, of course. I guess I would just close with my brief comments with saying thank you to the Commission for pushing this forward, for the dialogue and the conversation, and for recognizing the concepts of how do we create more opportunities in the community for economic wealth, for individuals receiving greater opportunities, and we stand ready to assist you in your dialogue with the community and in your process. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your words, sir. The next person I have is Mr. John Pettit.
Good evening, Commissioners. John Pettit from Rich Road. The first thing I'm going to inform you is that this has been the most recluse possibility of finding out information about what is supposedly, we want you to support something, that I've ever seen. Virtually zero information provided to the public except we want you to spend money. And we not only want you to spend money, we want you to spend money on something that would be a losing process. Now, the cities, they're kind of laughing right now at the commission because the cities knew better from the beginning. What I have a problem with right now is you present us with a map over there that says convention district boundaries and outside convention district. Well, that's not consistent with your resolution. Your resolution says exactly will be coextensive with the boundaries of Thurston County. So I don't know why you're showing us a map without Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, and Yelm in it. You need to have a whole new hearing. This hearing should end right now if you're changing the boundaries that's being presented. Maybe it's just incompetence. I don't know. But the bottom line is, we deserve much better than this. There isn't virtually any convention districts that make money. And now you're talking about, well, let's just throw it on the outer county. In a way, I would like to see you have this vote maybe next year when you're up for election, Mr. Blake, because it'll give people a reason to vote for who they're going to vote for a commissioner. You guys can make a decision tonight, kill where you are. You had a bad thought, maybe a bad dream. I don't have any idea what motivated you. But I can tell you for sure that I go places and people, they know I come and address you guys a lot. And they say, what are they doing? What are they doing? I mean, the last thing we want to do is have people that want to build a new courthouse, new convention center. It's like they can't stop the idea of wanting to spend money. Money that comes from taxes. Maybe you guys are out of touch with the people, but you need to get back in touch. Maybe you're just listening to staff, trying to build up your political careers. But you need to get back in touch with the people. You've already had 33 no's, and a whole lot more people are saying no. So listen to them. Shut it down, end it tonight. You can vote tonight and end it tonight, get it over with. Because we know we don't always get the inside story. We don't want you to go hide behind another day so you can vote when nobody know about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person I have on the list is Mr. Walt Jurgensen.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
You bet, sir. How are you?
I'm Walt Jorgensen. I live in Tumwater on North Street. I guess I have to say it. Well, actually, the Friday the 13th was not my favorite TV series, but I can't pass up the reference to Freddie. He always came back. He came out of the well. It didn't matter what you did to him. He came back. And I always forget his name, but I know one of us going to remember it. You know, deja vu all over again. Many of us opposed and successfully quashed an initiative by the city of Olympia circa 2004, I think. And in their proposal, this of course doesn't necessarily mean yours would, but in their proposal, they would have lost $900,000 a year just in operating it was a conference center at that point, and not even counting the hit they would have taken on the capital part. And these numbers were provided by their own staff. Now, granted, that's the city of Olympia, not the county of Thurston. Olympia at one point also, after they'd started, they went back and they tacked Arts Center on the front of their proposal. And that got talked about a lot because it was always the Arts Center and Arts and Conference Center. Not unlike yours that starts with Cultural Arts Stadium, and finally we get down into the end of it, Convention Center, which I think is what this is about. I have a document that I have brought copies for all of you. Could I give them to you?
To Romero.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also one for Manager Chavez. I'll hang on to them for the moment because
sure.
I'll refer to it. This is the story in, I think, the Tribune back in 2014 of Peter Callahan, who was kind of redredging up his own journalistic offerings on conference centers from a decade before. This particular article is called Callahan's Story of Convention Centers Always Has the Same Ending. It won't hurt to look at this, but be objective about this. Don't hire some firm that runs around the country telling bodies like this how wonderful conference and convention centers are. Get a real study. Find out if it'll work. Hey, if it'll work, why not? Also keep in mind we have several Native American tribes around here that are pretty good at putting up casinos and hotels and conference centers and swimming places. You know, that's the private sector. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll leave this for you.
Thank you, Mr. Jurgensen. Very
Thank you.
kind of you. So the next person I have that's checked on the list is Ms. Shauna Stewart. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. Good evening, Board of County Commissioners. My name is Shauna Stewart, Executive Director of the Visitor and Convention Bureau. As you know, the VCB's mission is to strengthen the region's economy by developing meaningful experiences and promoting travel to vibrant Thurston County. Our organization is dedicated to marketing this region to visitors near and far to drive economic development to the area. The 1.2 million visitors that visit our region spend over $303 million in Thurston County and support more than 3,000 local jobs. This economic activity leads to a vibrant quality of life for our residents. And as just one of the economic development organizations in Thurston County, when an idea is generated that would impact our region's economy, especially through tourism, the VCB naturally is interested in learning more. In many communities throughout North America today, development or expansion of a meeting facility is being considered as a means of creating positive economic impacts to achieve the economic development goal of an area. In addition to dollars, convention centers can elevate a destination's reputation, market awareness, influence key decision makers for business recruitment, and more. We've all seen communities through the nation thrive with convention centers, and unfortunately, others fail. An investment of this nature is significant and deserves to be mindfully considered. We are interested in learning more about the feasibility of a convention center in Thurston County. It's worth looking into past feasibility studies, evaluating the current market climate, and looking at future opportunities. The VCB Board of Directors, representing organizations and communities from around the region and dedicated to growing the region's tourism industry, is interested in engaging in a community dialogue around this topic. They do have some questions and concerns at this time related to the timing and this process, but we are hopeful that all the communities can come together to have a meaningful and research-based conversation about the future of a convention center in Thurston County. Thank you.
Thank you for your words. So the next person I have on the list is Ms. Kim Parsons. Did I get that correct? Yeah. Hi, come on up, ma'am. Yeah, can you bring the mic down just a little bit so we can hear you? There you go. Go ahead.
Commissioners, I appreciate you making this at a time when most of the public can attend. Most of us are usually working when you are meeting. I am not in support of this. As you are aware, because I've seen your quote in the paper, is the Nisqually tribe is considering putting in a convention center in Lacey, which is a heavy competition. There's your private business already taking care of that. Olympia, Lacey, Yelm, Rainier, and Tumwater all declined to participate in this, so you're left with the Tenino and Bucota, which don't have the infrastructure and would depend heavily on public funds out of my wallet. Elections cost money, and I'm concerned that we're going to be wasting money for this when we haven't done, I haven't heard of, there may be an objective feasibility study that's already been done. But I'd like to know more about that. Studies show that convention centers don't make money, even that peripheral stuff. They found proximities to airports do help, but we're not that close to one unless the port expands. alternative in the spirit of reduce, reuse, recycle, and refuse. Let's refuse to build it. And let's reuse. I know 2 of the 3 of you have seen the old Brewhouse Foundation presentation out there. That would be a good alternative to possibly study. So that's my proposal. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you for your words, too. So I'm going to move on to the next person. Is it Dane and Dana Clay? One or both of y'all? Yeah, sure. Come on up, sir.
Hi, my name is Dane Clay. I am from Lacey. And we just got back from a vacation, so I'm just getting caught up here. But and I do appreciate the fact this 60-day rule, this 6738 seems a little bit tough to me.
Yeah.
To really get the information out there and really help you out very much. My main concern is basically the money. I mean, the way it's going in federal land right now, we could get a bunch of our money cut. And Washington, being the great state it is going to have to make up that money. And I know where that money is going to come from. It's going to come from me and the rest of my people. So it just seems like timing is not really the greatest right now. And we're kind of in a little bit of turmoil right now. And I just don't know what's going to go on. And I hate to take on a whole bunch of debt that I can't afford. So thank you for your comments.
Yep. Thank you for your words, sir. Next person I have is Mr. Bob Jacobs.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Bob Jacobs, and I live at 720 Governor Stevens in Olympia. First of all, thank you for having this in a nice, cool venue on this hot evening. Our lack of a public convention center in Thurston County is something we should all be proud of. It proclaims to the world that we are not lemmings. City after city and county after county across the country establish public convention centers seemingly just because others have done so. I can still hear my mother saying, just because your friends are doing it doesn't mean you should do it. And if they jumped off the bridge, would you follow? So let us stand by in wonder while other jurisdictions pour endless amounts of tax dollars into their convention centers, producing jobs far below any reasonable definition of family wage jobs, and unfairly competing with private facilities. Let us remind ourselves that a recent ranking of the state's best for business put Washington in first place because of our skilled workforce and quality of life. Things like schools, public safety, parks and recreation, not convention centers, and tax breaks. With the publication of this book 3 years ago, everyone can now understand the scam that is public convention centers. The title is Convention Center Follies: Politics, Power, and Public Investment in American Cities by Dr. Haywood Sanders. This is a serious, thorough academic tome, 945 footnotes no less. I'm sure you'll find it enlightening and useful in this decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so the next person I have is Ms. Janet Jordan. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
There you go.
I'm Janet Jordan from 6702 Garrett Court in the Boston Harbor area, and I've learned that our commission is contemplating building a convention center. It's hardly a unique thought these days. There are convention centers in Seattle, Wenatchee, Tacoma, Spokane, Yakima, Kennewick, and Everett, to name just a few. These are the city-based centers. There are many more rural and park-based centers. Why would we want to make an entry into such a crowded field? After all, there aren't that many conventions looking for venues. Convention centers are already losing money in Washington State as they are around the country. And I've listed a link here that you can go to for a discussion of how promised benefits usually fail to materialize. But maybe the presence of so many other convention centers is actually the reason for us to build one, to prove that we are a big city like all those others. We don't have the numbers, but we have the convention center. It's kind of endearing to see so much pride in our county commissioners, but unfortunately, we citizens have to keep paying for the proud convention center as it loses money year after year. We don't have the extra money to throw around. We have needs here in the county. Our homeless population has not diminished since the crisis of 2008, but rather has slightly increased to 586 self-reported individuals, and nobody knows how many actual homeless people there are. Many solutions are possible, including new subsidized housing, rooms for rent, temporary housing while people get jobs, daytime center and support, better police protection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But for most of these, we will say, we don't have the money. Homeless people will continue to beg on our city streets, turning off potential visitors. Our waterfront areas also cry out for restoration, something that must be done before the Puget Sound itself recovers its purity and its fish populations, but we don't have the money. Let's reject this loser of a proposition and agree to move on to funding the things that Olympia actually needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The next person I have on the list is, I think it's Miss Lee Reiser.
Thank you for letting us come together tonight to discuss the formation of a district, a taxing district that would tax the people of Thurston County for a proposed convention center or a stadium. Before this proposal had come from these county commissioners, they were talking about a $200 million county courthouse. So now, after their proposal of building a new $200 million county courthouse, now they're talking about also possibly taxing us for a convention center or a stadium. It's very interesting, as the former speaker up here tonight, Mr. John Pettit, said, it seems there's no end to the use of taxpayers' money, and we really wonder if these proposals will do any good to our citizens of Thurston County beside emptying their pocketbooks completely. As you can see, many of the local jurisdictions have opted out of this proposal. Lacey opted out. Tumwater opted out of this proposal for a convention center for a taxing district. Yelm opted out. The city of Rainier opted out. And Mr. Pettit tonight said all of these cities are laughing at our county commissioners because they can't see the writing on the wall. Well, hopefully at some point they will open their eyes and realize that the taxpayers of Thurston County do not want their county commissioners fleecing their pocketbook. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, ma'am. The next person I have, Mr. Rob Kirkwood.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
I'm Rob Kirkwood. I live out Johnson Point area. I'm with the Old Brewhouse Foundation, and we were formed in 2004 partly in response to the previous convention center proposal. Our proposal is to form a county, and so for the last 13 years, we've been pestering Tumwater to form a region-wide district to restore the Old Brewhouse into public use. The public uses would include art galleries, art studios, possibly the brewery distillery center that the community college and the port are working on right now in the city of Tumwater. Develop that into an area and connect the old brew house facility to the farmers market and use the rail system that exists between there and the farmers market, and also the over to the Capitol Hill, bottom of the Capitol Hill climb. So we turn this into a large area, a lot like Granville Island in Vancouver, BC. The other examples of successful ventures like this are in the torpedo factory in Maryland or the workhouse in Virginia, where they've taken old facilities and turned them into a community asset that we're not just asking visitors to come into, but we use ourselves. The facility down there attracts a lot of attention. We've got our brew house model out front that we built with a grant from Thurston County. We take that around our public affairs like the Brew Fest. We're not going to the Mushroom Fest this year. We will be at the county fair this year. And our response from the people in there is, I would say 95% of them say, what are you going to do about the old brew house? And our response is, it's got to be, what are we going to do about the old brew house? Because it's got to be a county-wide effort to restore that facility, and generally think people really love it. So just driving the trailer around town, people are woo! So I hope, and I think we might have jumped the gun a little bit with the cities. Giving them 60 days to come to a conclusion is a little bit short-sighted. I'd like us to, if we have to back off on this particular proposal, fine, but I'd like to really see the discussion continue. Thank you.
You have a few seconds later. What do you have on your poster here?
This is a map that shows the, this is basically Capitol Lake. The old brew house is down this area. This is the Capitol Hill, Capitol Building, Farmers Market's up here. This is the existing train track. If we develop this area to be from Pioneer Park to the tip of KGY radio out there. And another park to think about is Central Park in New York, where that was garbage land. The garbage dump is out there. Nobody could develop it.
Yep.
And of course, it's turned into an incredible community asset.
Okay, time's up now. Thank you, sir. You bet. Okay, I'm going through this. I have Mr. Let me get to the public hearing there, Bob, and then we can go to that, okay? Krog Unsol is my next person.
I'm Krog Unsold. I live at 2211 Walnut Road Northwest in Olympia. And I am not going to basically save us all a lot of time because I'm going to take off my hat to Mr. Bob Jacobs and to Walt Jurgensen and to some of the other previous speakers who are speaking against this. But I would, as a former president of SPEECH, the South Puget Environmental Education Clearinghouse, raise some concerns about the old brew house project. This is something that I did testify before the city of Tumwater on, and it is not a question of whether or not the lake is going to become an estuary. It is only a question of when it will be reclaimed by the rising seawaters. Either the dam will stop functioning and there will not be a permit available to replace it or repair it, or the water is going to overtop the dam. And that's going to happen sooner than we think. Therefore, if the old brew house wants to do something, they need to relocate that because they need to bring it back as a complete estuary. There are some things that Thurston County can do without. One of them is a convention center. Another one is a deep water port. The deep water port that we have and that we masquerade as operating loses money hand over fist. Taxpayers throughout the entire county pay taxes to subsidize it. This convention center would be yet another case of taxpayers not countywide because they wouldn't have to pay it in the cities. So I guess I would be exempt, wouldn't I? But I will still speak for my brethren and brothers and sisters in the county that they don't want to have to pay for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So the next person I have is Rodolfo Mendez. How are you this evening?
Good.
Sure, you have the floor.
I'm glad
Go
to be
ahead.
here. Thank you for spelling my name right. I feel a little underprepared as I don't have a big presentation before me. However, I do have a lot of comments. Convention center, if you're going to build a new one, It's temporary work. It gets built, the work is done, those people no longer have jobs. There's not a continuing job. The jobs are very few, it's all administrative. We fund it. I live just outside of Lacey. I have no say in Lacey government. I see a lot of construction. My road is still small, a lot more traffic, no alleviation. Where's the county in expanding for the rising population that is Thurston County? We take 7/10 of Lacey is military or military derived. We're a growing population, 60,000+, new homes every day, more construction, no roads, no widening Yelm Highway. Where would we put a convention center? Where's the infrastructure to support a convention center? And if we're building together 1,000 to 2,000 people, are we excluding the other 60 out of just Lacey, not including Tumwater, not including Olympia, and the scattered amongst us that are unincorporated Thurston County? It doesn't seem logical that we're gonna fund a building to get put up for temp jobs. Then we turn around and on occasion we have an event there. The event goes away. Now we're still paying for maintenance on a building. We're still paying to keep administrative staff. And not guys that are working for minimum wage at $11 an hour. We're paying these cats lots of money that we're funding, that you're funding through your taxes, unless you don't live in the county. It's not a smart idea, not today, not until as a county we have the infrastructure to support such a facility that would make it a benefit to come in and not just another glorified building to add, to get dusty, to get mold, and not a good idea. Thanks.
Thank you for your words. Next on the list is Mr. Michael Cade. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you. Somewhere between here and Lacey, I apologize for the roads crew is my speech. So it's somewhere in the ditch back there. I apologize.
Okay.
So good evening, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to address the potential to create a convention district in Thurston County. My name is Michael Cade, as I stated. I'm the executive director of the Thurston Economic Development Council, and I'm here on behalf of our board of directors. My comments this evening are in support of the resolution that you folks adopted on June 6th, and in general for the strategies that encompass the efforts of economic development. We do our best work to retain our local businesses, expand the market opportunities, and create an entrepreneurial network for the region, and to secure new dollars and recruit that investment into our communities. We need to add new dollars so our buy local communities, our buy local campaigns can work. It is important that economic development be broadly defined, and in general, we practice the generally accepted definition of economic development. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to read that definition for you because I think it's important and germane to our conversation tonight. It is a set of activities and strategic deployment of resources that build a quality community, supports families and residents, protects and respects the natural environment, and builds wealth and employers from which a community can afford and implement the quality neighborhoods they so desire. Thurston County has many assets. One of them is not a convention center or a facility that could act as one. In the state capital communities, convention centers, if developed creatively, operated prudently, and marketed aggressively, can be an economic driver for the region. Economic drivers do indeed bring new dollars and resources into the new systems. In state capital communities, which Olympia and Thurston County is, they easily take advantage of the built-in market that the capital provides to that community. This is an important dialogue for our region. It must be studied and discussed. We stand ready to participate in the dialogue to help identify any proposal and can fit into a long-range economic development strategy, one that recognizes and embraces economic diversity, supports job growth at all wage ranges, and provides the opportunity to craft a facility that the community is proud of. Thank you for your attention. And as stated before, we stand ready to assist in the dialogue to find out what such a district could do and impact our region in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. Okay, so it brings me at the juncture where there are people who in the audience have hit, under the do you wish to testify column, you hit no or didn't hit anything at all, and I just want to make sure that you, he might have had a change of heart or change of mind or someone's walked in and I didn't catch them, to come to the podium to be able to speak their piece as far as the 3 minutes to the Board of County Commissioners. Is there anybody by a show of hand would like to come to the podium? Yeah, please come forward, ma'am. And I'll just kind of need your first and last name and just generally where you're from in the county.
I'm Marie Doctor. I'm
Can you pull the mic down just a tad?
I'm Marie Doctor. I'm from Tumwater. And I didn't come prepared to say anything tonight, but there's 2 points that I want to make. First of all, I'm first and foremost a parent. I have kids that have been in fine arts throughout their education, and they're still involved, theater, music, all those. So you'd think that I might support this convention center idea, but there are places in town that will fulfill that need. The Washington Center for Performing Arts, the Kenneth Minert Center at South Puget Sound. North Thurston High School has a wonderful performing arts facility that is used by Olympia Choral Society. This is not something that this county needs, nor is it something that our freeway system supports. I have to drive to work in Lakewood every day, and my commute from Tumwater to Lakewood has tripled in the last 10 years, and we do not have the freeway structure to get people from an airport to this county to support a convention center. We also don't have the need, and that I see. The second issue, now you've heard some people talk against it tonight, but is that you're sitting in a building that has already been deemed unsafe. This facility that surrounds you has been deemed unsafe. It's been reviewed, it's been looked at. I'm concerned that it's gonna take somebody getting hurt on this property for you guys to realize that this is not just something that would be nice to have, it's a need. And there's already been a study done that shows the feasibility of a new courthouse and how it will not just impact the community, but also be an economic support. You put a facility like that in the downtown area, it's gonna boost the economy of downtown. There's gonna be more jobs. The restaurants, the small businesses are all gonna benefit, and you're gonna have a structure that is gonna be long-term. You'll have a parking facility that will take care of some of the needs that are downtown in the parking issues. And it's, like I said, it's something that is not just wanted, but it's needed. There's also a plan for how to financially support this, and that's one of the concerns that were raised. Both the waterfront redevelopment of downtown and how are we gonna pay for this, all that's already been studied and done, and it's what's needed more than this convention center. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you so much for your words. Yeah, sure, come forward, ma'am. And again, just your first and last name and generally where you're from in the county.
Good evening. My name is Jill Barnes. I'm the Executive Director of the Washington Center for the Performing Arts. And the Washington Center, we inspire audiences and artists of all ages through live performances. We have approximately 185 events annually and serve over 100,000 guests. We have 983 seats, plus an additional 140-ish in our black box. As mentioned earlier, the Kenneth J. Minert Center for the Arts also has 500 seats available. We are utilized not just for performances, but serve the community as a rental and gathering space, such as during legislative session or for corporate annual meetings. And this is an important part of our revenue. We are not only a destination for downtown Olympia, but for patrons and performances within our region. Tonight's public hearing is listed not only as a stadium and convention district, but also as a cultural arts district. Therefore, the Washington Center is also interested in learning more about your visions regarding cultural arts activities that are currently not being met today. Perhaps this isn't part of the discussion, but it's part of the title of this, so we felt it was important to bring up. If this does move forward, the center, of course, is interested in engaging in this dialogue, as it could have a profound impact in a variety of ways to the Washington Center and over 20 community and artistic partners that do call the Washington Center home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'll just scan the audience, and anybody else is more than welcome to come to the podium. Yes, sir, come on, Terry.
Hi, my name's Terry Ballard, and I live in Tankawau, part of unincorporated Thurston County. Mr. Chavez, I didn't understand a couple things about his statement about incorporated cities, and specifically I'm keyed in on incorporated cities because all of the other cities that encompass into Thurston County belong to unincorporated. And he mentioned that my concern was, maybe I didn't get it, that the incorporated cities who opt out, which he didn't mention who already opted out, 9 board members wouldn't be able to be on the board. That tells me that the city's voices aren't being heard. The funding and votes of opting out and funding too, does that go along with when they opt out? Nobody spoke of other areas within Thurston County, like the Great Wolf Lodge. I have a lot of opposition with that because the unincorporated business that owns 49% doesn't pay any tax in Thurston County, and they have about a capacity of about 1,500 people that they can serve. Also, currently, nobody ever mentions this, but I'll go ahead and do it. We're about at $70 million in debt. I don't know why we want to go into more debt. And also, somebody mentioned the tribes doing it. I have no problem with the tribe doing it, just so long as they pay their taxes. And the business, who probably will be out of state, that does it. As far as the brew house study, the brew house is part of Tumwater. Okay, it's not a part of Thurston County, unincorporated. And I would think that they would key in, Tumwater would key in on their own brew house, which I believe history says that they couldn't get, they over permitted that a brew house, and that's why it stands the way it is. We're already giving money to other cities like Olympia with the Isthmus Park. We spent $650,000. I'm still after the rendering that it's supposed to look like, that the project never had. And I'm still looking at the range. As far as Lacey is concerned with, Lacey had a good idea. They used their transportation tax district falsely to fund their sports park. That's a really good one for me. And we have a transportation tax district that does absolutely nothing. As far as the economic development is concerned with, I thought businesses created wealth, and out of that wealth created jobs, and out of the composition of those jobs created a raise in wage. So I think we need to start at the business before we start saying that we'll employ all these people, which of course we're not going to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ballard. Any last person like to come up and make their statement? Reading the audience once, twice. Okay, sure. Any closing remarks? Any closing remarks or final comments? Stand now.
No, I think we can wait.
Okay. Do you have any there, County Manager? Okay, I'll just say thank you so much, everybody that's attended tonight. Every single one of the comments and questions you posed is absolutely spot on of where this discussion should be and will be going. The intent for this was, from this Board of County Commissioners, was to have, or is to have, a conversation with the jurisdictions because we wanted to make sure it, quote, pencils out if we were to have a convention center, arts center, stadium, whatever that turns out to be. But we know there is a concern or a relevant interest out there from one side of the spectrum, and the other side saying that it's not. That's what this is all about. It's bringing that harmony to a balance, if you will, as far as the discussion. We just did not want to miss the opportunity, if it would be able to pencil out, to have a convention center, arts center, stadium, whatever that turns out to be. But we wanted to make sure it's a county-wide, community-wide discussion. And that's what this is for, first and foremost, about. And I think we're all in agreement about that. That's what this great country does for us, is give us that democracy and that ability to have that discussion. So with that in mind, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, to close the hearing.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Oh, I move that we close the meeting.
I'll second that.
Then move the second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And move the public hearing is closed.
Okay.
Thank you.